Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest video in the Elder Law Interviews video series. Today I'm joined by Mike Wall, who is the marketing manager at DocuBank. One thing that I have talked to Mike about multiple times is the value that their company brings to the situation where a client has had their documents prepared, went and saw an elder law attorney, did everything they were supposed to do, but they find themselves in an emergency situation. How are those documents getting to the right people's hands so that their wishes can actually be implemented? Take, for example, a emergency room situation where the person is unconscious. How the heck are they supposed to know where their living will is, their healthcare directives? All of those type of documents need to be stored somewhere. So DocuBank came in and created a card that provides access to those documents that are stored in the cloud. So Mike's going to talk a little bit about how that works, how that's beneficial to attorneys, and even adds value to the attorney services, the elder law attorney services, from a client services perspective, which is really key to setting yourself apart in the elder law and estate planning industry. So I really had a great conversation with Mike. I hope you enjoy it as well. And it gives you an idea of the type of services you can add to your elder law firm to kind of stand out in a crowded market. So with that, let's listen to what Mike has to say. Yeah, hey Mike, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. Can you introduce yourself and then a little bit about how DocuBank works and what the services they provide?
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me. My name is Mike Wall. I'm the Director of Business Development at DocuBank, and I've been here for 13 years. And DocuBank is a service that protects clients by making sure they're prepared for a medical emergency. So we store advanced directives and other medical information for clients, and then we send that to the hospital when they need it. So it's available for them and for their doctors and families.
And how does that happen? How does the clients say, "Hey, I'm in an emergency situation. I need to get these documents." What's the process that actually occurs in?
Right. That's a great question. So the clients get an emergency card. So this is like
Okay.
a plastic wallet card. So think of like a credit card that they carry with their in the with them in their wallet. And so with that card, either the hospital or the member themselves or a family member can call us or go to our website, and then we'll either fax the documents right to the hospital, or they can go to the website and download everything as a PDF.
And what kind
And
of
so
documents are usually associated with those emergency cards?
Yeah, so for the documents that the law firms that we work with are creating, we're talking about their advanced directives. So it would be the healthcare power of attorney, HIPAA release, living will, organ donor forms. It can also include like funeral arrangements and things like that. And so we keep that in the cloud. And then the clients can add other medical information as well if they would like to. And so with the card, there's instructions on the card so they can go to the website, enter the information on the card, and download all that 24 hours a day. Or they can call the 800 number, put in the information on the card, and then we'll fax everything right to the hospital 24/7.
Gotcha. So is it generally your relationship? Is it usually directly with the client or the attorneys that are preparing the documents?
Right. So we actually tend to partner a lot with the law firms that are preparing the documents.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of other ancillary benefits that are kind of built into the service for the firms. And so most of the firms we work with, they'll package this in the trust for the clients and then give that to the clients as a gift. And
Okay.
so that way, when they're working with clients and they're working with new folks and doing their marketing, they can say, hey, we're not only going to create these documents for you because they're important, we're going to actually make sure that when you need them and when your families need them, that we have a mechanism built in to make sure that they get to the hospital when they're needed. And so it's a real good opportunity for firms to, sort of build a great relationship with clients and show them how they're going to kind of go beyond just creating the estate plan for them. It's a real opportunity for the attorneys to build a connection with the clients and show how, they're going to actually make sure this plan is going to work when they need it. So we work with a lot of firms that have had like calls from clients in the past during a crisis. They've needed the advanced directives, and so, either the firm, might get that voicemail on a Monday and something happened on Friday. And so they're like, okay, well, these documents didn't get there, they didn't help, or maybe it's the middle of the night and the firms kind of have to like wake up and the attorneys are they'll say, oh, well, I got this phone call at 3 in the morning and I had to wake up and send the documents over. So there is a real need. It can be very stressful for some law firms. And so we kind of alleviate that burden from them. And so, we work with some firms and they'll have these kinds of stories and they can sit down with the clients and say, look, we've heard from clients in the past that have needed these documents. Nobody ever thinks to bring them with them to the hospital.
Right.
People don't bring them when they're traveling. They need to be available on demand or else they're not very efficient. They're not very effective. And so, we've seen this as a problem. We found this solution for you. So we're going to make this easy for you. We're going to make this easy for your family. So if something happens to you, you're in the hospital, the documents are right there with you. Everyone knows who should make the decisions. Everyone knows what decisions you want. And then there's, the other medical information as well that we can store that'll also be available to doctors so that the client can get the best care possible.
It sounds like, and I've talked to a lot of attorneys about a maintenance plan where they continue their services on an ongoing basis with their clients, that this would be a good component of that. Have you worked with attorneys to kind of broaden out and build out a maintenance plan using your services as part of their maintenance program?
Yeah, so we don't have like a maintenance service itself, but a lot of law firms will include DocuBank in their maintenance plan they have for their clients. And so it's sort of a very natural fit for a lot of the marketing and messaging of maintenance programs. So, firms that have maintenance programs are really about close relationships with clients, making sure the estate plan stays updated and making sure the estate plan, works as intended. And so DocuBank is a very natural fit with that whole messaging. And then we also have that sort of brings us to a lot of the different marketing benefits that are sort of incorporated in the service.
Yeah, please talk about that.
So yeah, so like for example, the card itself is branded with the law firm's information. So
Okay.
the clients will be carrying around this plastic wallet card that has, the law firm's contact info on it. They can add their logos to the card. Um, and so if they have a maintenance program, then we can brand that with the name of the program itself as well.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So yeah, so it can be like a nice tangible benefit to the program. It's kind of like a membership card. It's something physical they can hold on to that kind of represents the relationship they have with the firm and with the client. So it's a really nice way to connect, the firm to the clients, regardless of whether or not there's a maintenance program involved.
Yeah, and
Um,
obviously, oh, go ahead. Anything else you want to add?
well, I was just going to say that sort of just touches on a lot of the other marketing benefits we have. So it's while our primary focus is of course making sure clients are ready for an emergency and that these documents get there. Our secondary focus or our 1B focus, if you will, is helping law firms build relationships and maintain those relationships with clients for years to come. And so part of that is with the branding on the cards, but we also do other, third-party marketing on behalf of the firm as well. So like when the clients are signed up, they'll get a series of emails that'll give them information about DocuBank, and all of those will mention the actual law firm and remind the clients that the service was provided through them. There's a login on our website where clients can log in to keep their memberships up to date. And so the firms can brand that with their contact information and their logo as well. So every time the clients are logging in, they'll see the firm's contact info and the logo. And it's just sort of reinforcing that connection they have with the law firm and the client.
So obviously, a lot of these documents will have sensitive information in them. Can you talk a little bit about the security that you guys need to provide to make sure that those documents are secure and no one could hack into those and get some of that information out of it? I know that would be a concern that clients would probably share with their attorneys, and the attorneys obviously need to have some sort of assurance and
Right.
comfort with that so they can provide the service to their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, all of the documents themselves are stored in the cloud. And so we use Amazon's web services for our storage, which is an industry standard, platform that
Sure.
thousands and thousands of companies use. And so all of the documents themselves are encrypted while they're on the server at Amazon. So that would prevent someone from being able to hack in and potentially access the documents. They wouldn't be able to decrypt them and view them. So really the only way to access them is with that emergency card itself.
Okay.
And then so the service is set up that so whomever has that card can log in and get access to these documents, though. So there's a member number and PIN on the card.
Gotcha.
So if the client is taken to the hospital, that's the information that they'll use when they call us, or the information they'll use on our website. So that card is the key to accessing the documents. And it's set up that way. So let's say the client is taken to the hospital and it's an emergency and they're unconscious. That way, the hospital staff can still use the card, family member can use the card and get access to the advanced directives.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
And so also kind of important to note that we're not storing any financial documents on this.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be like the trust, it wouldn't be the durable power of attorney or anything like that. It would strictly be, these are my medical wishes.
Okay.
This is who should make my decisions for me and things like that.
Gotcha. And I think this would be really helpful for, parents of children with special needs who are worried that, somebody that is unfamiliar with the child with special needs, maybe even an adult child, doesn't realize what's going on. Do you provide, is that kind of an area that you guys help out in? I know I've seen you at some special needs events, but just curious how you work with those families as well.
Yeah, so in addition to the standard service, we also have what we call our family services. And so we have three different ones, one for folks with special needs, one for college students, and one for minors. And so these are services, they function very much the same way, where the individual would get an emergency card, and that would allow them or the hospitals to access, important information in an emergency. But each of those services are tailored specifically to those individual audiences. So some of the information that's printed on the card is different.
Okay.
So, for example, like in the case of an adult with special needs, we would print some physician's contact information on the card itself. And then some of the documents that we're storing with those might be different as well. So for an adult with special needs, there could be like guardianship documents or
Right.
like a letter of intent or something like that. And then, with a minor, they're not going to have advanced directives, but again, you might have some sort of guardianship documents or like a temporary power of attorney, so that if a parent is away, you're giving a grandparent or some other family member or loved one authorization to take care of the kid if there's an emergency.
Gotcha.
And then,
Gotcha. That sounds really,
yeah,
really helpful for those families.
yeah. And so those cards as well also come with an alert. So when the card is used, the parents or the emergency contacts, who are typically going to be the parents, are going to receive a text message that lets them know, hey, this person's emergency card was used at this hospital. And it gives them the contact info of the hospital so they can make sure everything's okay.
Oh, that's so great. That's awesome resource for those families. So you have it. So just kind of walk me through. You have the attorney that prepares the documents. They generally hand that off to the client, and where do, at what point in that process do the documents actually end up getting
Mm.
uploaded into the DocuBank system? Typically, I'm sure every case is a little bit different, but typically, how does
Yeah.
that process work from the attorney side? Logistically, how does that work?
Yeah, logistically, it's actually pretty much the same. So the law firm would set up an account with us, which is
Okay.
completely free. And so that's just how we can set up their branding on the cards. We'll provide them with resources like brochures. We have website content, blog content, um, things like that. We'll walk through with their staff and help them. We'll do one-on-one training with the staff, make sure all their questions are answered, and walk through the process with them as well. And so typically the law firm would then register the client during the signing. And so there's a form that the
Okay.
client would fill out so that we can get some basic contact information about them to set up the account. And so if you're working with Wealth Council or the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys, or using Interactive Legal, or a number of other programs like that, our enrollment form is actually built into most of those document drafting programs. So when you go to print out the client's estate plan prior to the signing, you can print out our form at the same time if you're using any of those document drafting programs. So that saves a lot of time. The software will, automatically fill in the client's information and everything like that. So it makes it really easy.
Oh, okay.
And then during the signing, the client would just fill out the rest of the form. What the part that the client would be filling out at that point would be basically their allergies and medical conditions, because we actually will print that information on the front of the card.
Oh, okay.
So that way, if the client gets taken to the hospital, even if they're unconscious, again, the hospital staff can see this and say, oh, okay, they're allergic to this. Maybe they're allergic to certain medication. Maybe they're
Right.
allergic to latex or something like that. And so that can really help make sure they get the best care possible and avoid, possibly dangerous interactions there. And so after the signing, the law firm would just send that form to us with the client's advance directives. And so, however they want to get them to us, that's fine. Most law firms these days will just email everything to us. We still have some law firms that will fax things to us. Some folks will use Dropbox. Some folks will mail things. So whatever is easiest for the law firm's workflow. But typically, I'd say 90% of firms will just scan the form, scan the directives, email them to us, and then they're part and the whole process is done. So
Gotcha.
from
Gotcha.
there, yeah. So from there, we just set up the membership. We print out the cards, and we mail those directly to the clients.
Okay. Okay. So those don't go back through the law firm; those go directly to the clients.
Exactly, yeah. So the law firm staffs, from their point of view, once you're up and running, it's basically, okay, we need to have the client fill out this form during the signing. We scan that form, we email that to DocuBank with the directives, and then they're done. In addition to the advanced directives, clients can add a bunch of other medical information to our service that they would want to make available to hospitals in an emergency.
Okay.
So they can add things like a list of their medications. They can add a list of the doctors they're working with. They can add vaccination history, family history, all kinds of other medical info that they would want to send to the hospital in an emergency. And so this is a great opportunity. It's important for if somebody's in the hospital, the doctors need to know, okay, what prescriptions are they taking? They need to know, okay, we need to continue giving them these kinds of prescriptions, or they may need to know, okay, well, they're on this kind of medication, so we don't want to prescribe another one because that could have a dangerous interaction.
Right. Right.
So it's a great way to keep all that information organized and make sure that it gets sent to the hospital, if there is a problem. And so again, that's not something that the law firms themselves need to be involved with, like collecting that info from the client. It's not necessarily extra work for them, but it is an added benefit for the clients once their memberships are set up. And so that also helps keep the clients engaged with our website. So, as clients' prescriptions are changing, oh, okay, I'm on a new medication. Let's log in and add it to my DocuBank account. And then, boom, they see the client's branding at the top of, or the law firm's branding at the top of the page. They get reminded that, oh, okay, my attorney was really nice. They set me up with this service. It's very helpful for me. And that's how it kind of keeps that relationship going and keeps the client, reminded and keeps the law firm top of mind with the
And
client.
hopefully then they tell all their friends, and then everybody else goes to that law firm and gets their work done.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the same idea with the branding on the card as well. It's basically like the clients carrying around the business card everywhere they go. And so, we encourage members to tell their family about these cards.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's going to be if the client shows up in the hospital and they're unconscious, sometimes it's going to be their kids that are going to have to use the card. So, again, it's just about creating that communication, hopefully getting that conversation started, and that can lead to referral opportunities as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely.